type of brother. Silly me, why haven't I found another? A baller. When times get hard, need someone to help me out. Instead of a scrub like you who don't know what a man's about. Can you pay my bills? Can you pay my telephone bills? Can you pay my automobile bills? If you did, then maybe we could chill. I don't think you do, so you are through. Can you pay my bills? Can you pay my telephone bills? Can you pay my automobile bills? If you did, then maybe we could chill. I don't think you do, so you are through. Now you've been maxing on my car. Gave me back credit, buying me gifts with my own hands. Haven't paid the first bill, but you're steady heading to the mall. Going on shopping sprees, perpetrating to your friends that you be ballin'. And then you use my cell phone.
Hey everybody, so I made this little collage because I want to show you all how trifling the men in the church are compared to men in the world. They're trifling. Granted, everything you see online is not true, but a lot of stuff that's happening in the church is true. I think that women need to start telling the truth. And I'm going to say this, I didn't want to say anything because y'all know I'm being persecuted right now. And I was accused of being R. Kelly's wife, who is even though he was set up, he is a registered sex offender. And thankfully, the truth is starting to get out that he did not commit the crimes that he was accused of committing. And so I didn't really want to get too deep into this because I didn't want to look like a hypocrite. But this is a problem, and it's going to become a bigger problem in the future. And I'm not saying that these men that I showed the good side of, I'm not saying that their lives are perfect. But what I am saying is that what they are presenting compared to what is happening in the church is absolutely terrible. Is absolutely terrible. You see the men in the world. I think I had just seen something with T.I. saying that he pays all the bills in his house. Or you're seeing all of these men do what they're supposed to do to be providers of a family. But the women in the church, don't want to tell the truth of what is really happening in the church. How the men in the church do not have jobs. They're lazy. They cannot provide for you as a woman. The men in the church cannot provide for you as a woman. They cannot produce children because they cannot last in the bedroom. They are financially irresponsible. They have terrible credit. If you marry them, they will mess your credit score up because they will steal your identity and mess your credit score up. I'm going through that right now. They'll call the police on you for having a job. If you buy a car, they will steal your license plate and put it on the stolen car just to try to show off as a pastor. Dealing with that right now. And they will set you up with the FBI if you are a minister because you are getting more attention with them. Dealing with that right now. And dealing with men in the church has been a nightmare. Matter of fact, I'm dating somebody new and I'm heavily contemplating cutting him off. And it's because he can come over to my house, but I can't go to his house because he doesn't have a house. He's staying with somebody else. And matter of fact, he just made a terrible business decision. Him and two other people, so 3 men, they're immigrants, bought a house in Chicago that you have to flip. This is the problem. They don't know how to contract work, so they're doing all of the renovations themselves, which if an appraiser comes to the house, is going to be deemed illegal, and they could get into legal trouble with that house, and they could possibly get arrested. So they come up with this idea to buy a crappy house, do all the work and fixtures themselves, which is illegal, and to sell it back on the market. This is the problem. Even if somehow you did sell that house, it takes in Chicago economy, especially in this economy right now, it's going to take about a year or two. It's going to take about a year or two. So for a year or two, mind you, this man, he doesn't have a lease. But what he does have is a house that he invested in with other people, though he's not leasing. And he invested into this house. And he has to make payments on the house. But he can't afford the payments. You could afford to get the house, but you can't afford the monthly payments. So everybody is forgetting that you still have to pay on that mortgage loan. Right? See, the problem in the church is get rich quick schemes that don't work. And the problem is that where first ladies mess up is that you be doing get rich quick schemes because your husband told you to do it. And then you end up on your behind. So like when they raising $4 million to Africa, it take one audit. The IRS has blocked a lot of my businesses, but what they can't do is arrest me. Why? Because if you audit, you ain't gonna find nothing. However, what these people do is that they say, oh, we're raising a $4 million for an African fund. And then they take all the money. The day you get audited by the IRS as a pastor, you go into jail. And you could go to jail for 7 years. But it's so silly of a first lady to follow along with her husband just because he's a husband. Or the stupidity of being with a man who's married. He's a pastor and he's weaponizing his position as a pastor to sexually harass women at his church. And all you can say is that you're under attack and this and that. And you get up and take your children and flee like an idiot with the same man, forgetting that if he did it there, he's going to do it again. See, it's one thing for a man to be lied on, but if a man is really doing it, like how these pastors are doing, if they're really, really doing it, then what are you with him for? These men are trifling in the church and they're embarrassing. You don't have any money. And to really tell the truth, really tell the truth. I had actually left the church at the Way of Truth because the bishop it's crazy because I knew him since I was a little girl, but I'm not a little girl anymore. And so he was texting my phone at like early in the morning. And I just stopped responding back to him. So people had just kind of started looking at me like I was the problem trying to stir up. Mind you, let me tell you something. I heard the bishop can't even do nothing in the bedroom. He can't do nothing in the bedroom. He can't do nothing in the bathroom, and he always sick. So I'm trying to fit, and this is the thing, is that he pretends to love all these women, right? Though he's married, because these idiots are literally getting their work checks and giving it to him because he doesn't have a job. So he's paying his mortgage and his, because his house was passed down to him through the death of his parents. He inherited all of this through the death, which is suspicious, right? Your parents die, then your signature mysteriously appears on all the paperwork, and now you inherit the house. That's suspicious, but whatever. And he don't really got no money. So all of these men in the church don't have money. And their excuse is they'll tell the woman to get up and go get a job. But he has to stay home. Mind you, this is the man. He has to stay home and tell you that God is preparing him for ministry. So he has to stay home and read the Bible all day while you go out and work. But then he didn't tell you that he's going to get angry and jealous that you have a job and he doesn't. And he's going to come up to your job and try to fight you in front of everybody because you're working. You're working. See, these women in the church are idiots because it could never be me. I'll never let a nigga stay up in my house like that. Even with my ex-husband, I think it's funny that he set me up with the FBI because I'm like, are you going to tell the FBI the truth? Tell them how that was my house. Tell them how that when we went to go look for a house, I had the money for the deposit and you didn't. Tell them that was my car and you didn't pay for that car. I paid for that. And how you ain't got shit. Tell them that. And that is a consistent issue in the church. That's a consistent issue in the church. Niggas don't have money. You don't have nothing. Even down to the church. That's not your church. That's the Mason's church. You there on duty station. No. You went to the basement with a Freemason and you got handed a paper to go pastor at that church. The Freemasons told you that you're stationed there. You're a duty station Freemason apostle. It's the truth. All these men in the church are trifling. They are trifling. They trifling. And they're an embarrassment. Because if you look at how these men in the world are taking care of their wives, how they're marrying them, they're giving them rings, they're buying houses, they are being men. Look how these trifling pastors are acting. Look how trifling they are. Look how trifling they are. They can't provide. The white pastors and the black pastors like to have sex with each other. They always want to, and it's crazy because they go online and they always talk about how bad black women are. Let's talk about how bad you are. This is some trifling mess. This is trifling. I'm seriously disgusted with the men in the church. First of all, there's not enough men in the church. They're immature. You're 31 to 35 years old and you still don't have money to get a place of your own. You can't do nothing for yourself. You can't buy your own clothes. You can't hold a you can't do anything for yourself. You can't do anything for yourself. This is the crazy thing is that you have bishops that preach against these types of men, but you can't even pay the utilities. Before I left my ex-husband, the utilities was getting cut off every month. Every month. He couldn't pay a $100 utility bill. Now, when I had my own home, it was never cut off. Never. Utilities was never cut off. It was paid on time. I didn't play about it. So you set me up because you feel like you the one that want to be in charge. When you get your home, you can't pay the rent. And mind you, this is North Carolina. What you mean you can't pay no $800 rent? What? $800? You can't pay $800 of rent? You can't pay a $100 utility bill? You can't pay that? Really? That's too much for you. I'm expecting too much for you to just pay $800. You can't deal with that. But that's really what was going on. The men in the church are trifling. There's no other way. They're an embarrassment. They are an embarrassment. They're humiliating. They're disgusting. They don't bathe. They don't shower. They have mommy issues. These men are terrible. And they are all down low. They all down low. If he got a spiritual son, stop lying. That's his boyfriend. This is a terrible generation of men in the church. And I am ashamed. God has been dealing with me because I want to leave so bad. Because there's no man. It's my nature as a woman to desire to get married. It's my nature as a woman to desire to build a house. That's human nature. And when I look at the church, I realize that there is nobody. Because you're all gay. Being gay is one thing, but you don't have no money. You can't provide. You can't do anything. You can't do anything. You can't do anything. You can't do anything right. You have mommy issues. Some of you can't even keep a chime card open. It's the truth. I don't know what's gonna happen, y'all. I don't.